Let's continue the Jaguars conversation. Eric Armstead today tweeted out, Brenton Strange will be a top 5 tight end this year.
Oh, wow.
Do you like him putting that out into the universe, Taylor?
I love it. Oh, sorry, Taylor.
No, you're good.
Oh, no. I mean, I hype your people up.
Yeah.
I'm here for that. You better hope he backs it up, because if not, people are bookmarking that, I'm sure, a crazy amount right now. And I wonder how that came about. Like, I wonder if him and Strange were talking and he was like, oh, I'm going to post this, or if he just posted it and Brent was like, hold on, wait.
Because you like him.
Yeah. Hold on. Strange. Yeah, I like Strange. And I think that I don't love the tight end room as a whole, but I like him. And I think that, especially last year, I just feel like he had a lot of moments last year where you felt game by game he was getting better. And then late in the season, it became, and this was also with Mac Jones, who I am not a fan of, I was like, I felt like in moments was saving Mac Jones, and we're making him look a little bit better than what I feel like Mac Jones actually is, and that's the type of tight end you want. That's the good tight ends in the league, and I'm not saying he's a George Kittle or Travis Kelce. We're not obviously there yet, but the good tight ends in the league are ones that make the quarterback's job a little bit easier, and it felt like he was doing that, especially late in the season last year.
Let's go through and look. This is to say that I understand for certain matchups, maybe a tight end will be featured more versus another.
Sure. Yeah, they're going to scheme according to the opponent.
In the loss to Green Bay, a walk-off field goal loss, Brenton Strange, 5 targets, 5 catches. The next week at Philadelphia, notoriously, 0 targets, 0 catches. 3 targets, 2 catches the next week. 1 target, 1 catch. 2 targets, 1 catch. 1 target, 1 catch. Against the Jets, 12 targets, 11 catches. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's scheme or if that's just the decision-making, the opposite. I don't know what that is, but what I can tell you is that when you actually look at how many times he was targeted and how many times he caught the ball, pretty good ratio for Brenton Strange in his second year, so that's a positive. He also had the play of the day, in my estimation and Rick Ballou's estimation, at Tuesday's practice. Really nice sideline grab that he was able to get both toes in while Jarian Jones was draped all over him. And so I couple that with the progression of Cade Otton in Tampa Town under Liam Coen's tutelage, someone who went from just, 42 catches his rookie season, 47 catches, 59 catches, but jumps up to 600 total yards. And that was in really key situations on 3rd and 2nd down that Liam Coen would consistently go to Otton, who all of a sudden enters the mainstream stratosphere, not just fantasy football nuts. And I think that is what you need to look at when it comes to a blueprint of where Brenton Strange can go in 2025. Understanding, too, that, well, yes, to this point, he had in his career, I'm going to pull up the career numbers now.
We'd have to look at, obviously, Evan Ingram's numbers, too.
Correct.
He
That's
got
a big part of it,
because,
too.
Yeah, he was the go-to tight end.
So Brenton last year had 40 catches for 411 yards, which sounds a whole lot like what Cade Otton had in 2023 when Dave Canales was the OC in Tampa. He had 47 catches for 455 yards. Yeah. And so you look at the jump that he made, and you couple that with the idea of, yes, certainly there was a lion's share for Evan Ingram. Now that potentially goes to Strange. Do they include the other 2 veteran tight ends that they signed? 3 technically. Quentin Morris, I know, is much more of a blocking tight end. But yeah, I think that as we have that conversation about what Brenton Strange can do in year 3, I think we really do need to look at the Cade Otton blueprint. And that's not to say it's going to be identical to that, but that's the player who immediately comes to mind.
Yeah. The one thing that doesn't show up on stats, though, is the blocking, right? And that's what you talk about, the guy that certainly Eric Armstead's super familiar with in San Francisco, and George Kittle, who you mentioned, Taylor. Like, what he can do, and that's what Brenton Strange aspires to be, is the guy who could do both. Be a really good pass-catching tight end and also blocking tight end. You can't look at the box score and see how many times that Brenton Strange was able to create a hole for a running back or was able to create some space for the receiver, blocking, in one of those types of plays. And so that's where it's harder to evaluate, I think, that position specifically stats-wise. Mm-hmm. But if he's a top 5 tight end, then certainly we are even more singing the praises of what Liam Coen has dialed up.
Yeah, and I think another thing we have to look at when we're doing the comparison between the Bucs is what are the expectations between the other weapons here in Jacksonville? Right. Because obviously Chris Godwin got hurt, so they lost one of their biggest weapons. So of course you have to readjust that, and I think that's some of Cade's uptick.
Mike Evans
came. Yeah, Mike Evans missed time. Jalen McMillan missed time. So all of their wide receivers at some point during the season weren't on the field. So I do think that affected what Cade had to do because they didn't have many other options to go to. And outside of Cade, the other tight ends didn't really get much at all. And so I do think that it depends what Liam Coen sees in this offense. How much is Brian Thomas Jr. getting the ball? How much is Dyami Brown getting the ball? How much is Travis Hunter getting the ball? And it will kind of factor into that. And I don't think that's a hit on him, Brenton Strange specifically. It's just sometimes if you have that many weapons, you're not going to see 87 catches with 600 yards. If it ends up being, you have to spread the ball a little bit out a little bit more.
And 422 on the text line echoed that same idea, Taylor, of with both Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr., are there going to be enough targets to go around? Again, I'm of the belief, and we're going to hear from Dyami Brown on the other side, I'm of the belief that Dyami Brown and Brenton Strange are going to eat in 2025 because defenses are going to be so focused on the Jaguars' number 1 and number 2 wide receivers.
And that's what I saw a comparison today on Twitter. I wish I'll try and find the tweet, but they were saying they could see the trajectory of what Liam Coen did with McMillan last year, similar to Dyami Brown, because later in the season, you started seeing, like, if you go through his targets early in the year, it was 2, 1, 1. He had like a couple in the middle, and that's right when Chris Godwin got hurt. So they were trying to figure some stuff out. But later in the season, it was consistently 7, 6, 5, 5, 6. And he was getting 60, 70 yards. He had 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 touchdowns in his last 5 games. And so a lot of people are saying they could see that being kind of Liam Coen's Jalen McMillan, or sorry, Dyami Brown being Liam Coen's Jalen McMillan this year.
Hey, Mia here, and thanks so much for watching 1010XL Jaguars. For even more coverage of the Big Cats, be sure to subscribe to 1010XL Jaguars.